Next, let's look at the medium capacity size, the EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus, the Bluetti Elite 100 P2, and the Anker C1000. So these power stations that are small enough to carry one hand, but also powerful enough to run larger appliances like a mini fridge or, a blender. But first, let's look at capacity. Once again, the EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus is the leader in terms of how much energy you can actually store. And that is because, well, all these power stations start at about the same baseline capacity between 1,024 watt hours all the way up to 1,056 watt hours. The EcoFlow allows you to expand up to 5,000 watt hours of storage capacity. The Anker C1000 gives you some expansion options, but they limit it at 2,112 watt hours, significantly less than the EcoFlow. And the Bluetti doesn't let you expand at all. Once again, EcoFlow leads in this area. Now let's look at output. One surprise that I had in this category is that the Anker actually takes the lead, which rarely happens, especially compared to the EcoFlow and the Bluetti. EcoFlow and Bluetti give you the same 1,800 watts of continuous output. This is the industry standard of power stations at this size. And they both give you 3,600 watts of surge power. However, the Anker C1000 really blows them both out of the water, giving you 2,400 watts of continuous output. This means that the Anker can sustain more high demand devices for longer periods of time. You get a bit less surge power on the Anker, but getting so much continuous output makes the Anker take the lead in terms of overall power. Next, let's move on to charging speed. Once again, the EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus leads the pack, and if you plug it up to your standard wall outlet, you can recharge to 100% in about 56 minutes, and you get 1,500 watts of input power. Solar charging is also very fast. You can recharge in about 1.1 hours in full sunlight with 1,000 watts of solar input. One area where this EcoFlow really shines is the option to charge using your vehicle. This will require you buying an add-on, the DC alternator charger. Using this add-on, you can recharge in 1.3 hours using your car with 800 watts of input power. If you were to just to charge your EcoFlow with your car using the standard DC input, it would take more than 10 hours to recharge. And now looking at the Bluetti Elite 100 E2, you can recharge in about 1.2 hours using your standard AC wall outlet. Solar charging is very similar to the EcoFlow. You can recharge in full sunlight in about 1.1 hours with 1,000 watts of solar input. Standard vehicle charging is going to take more than 12 hours using standard DC input. However, Bluetti also gives you this option of buying an add-on called the Charger One. It's an alternator charger, just like the EcoFlow, and you can recharge in 1.8 hours using your car, so a lot faster. You also get a backup UPS on the Bluetti with a 10 millisecond switchover. Once again, if you want to ensure you have any sensitive devices that you don't want to lose power in an outage, you can just use this UPS. The Anker C1000, you can recharge in about 58 minutes using the standard wall outlet. Using the Anker mobile app, you have the ability to toggle between ultra-fast charging or standard charging. The ultra-fast allows you to charge in a little less than an hour. Standard charging takes about 90 minutes because you get less input power. If you want to charge using solar, the Anker is pretty fast. You can charge in 1.8 hours with 600 watts of solar input. However, this is still more than double the time of the EcoFlow and the Bluetti for solar charging. Another shortcoming of the Anker is that if you want to use your vehicle, you only have the option of standard charging, which takes more than 10 hours. So it's really not an option. It just takes too long. Unlike the Bluetti or the EcoFlow, they don't give you the alternator charger option. Let's look at outlets and ports. The EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus gives you 13 total outlets and ports. Definitely gives you the largest selection of different ways to plug in your devices. You get 6 AC outlets. You're going to get 3 T-shaped slots on the bottom row, which are 20 amp outlets for heavy-duty tools and things that require specialized plugs. And you get 3 standard 2-prong AC outlets. You get 2 USB-A ports at 36 watts each, 2 USB-C ports at 140 watts each for fast charging. You get 3 DC ports, 2 DC 5521 barrel ports for RVs, and you get 1 car port at 126 watts. And you also get a backup UPS option with 10 millisecond switchover. The Bluetti gives you 9 total outlets and ports. You get 4 AC outlets, and you get 2 USB-C, one at 100 watts, one at 140 watts, 2 USB-A, both at 15 watts, a lot weaker than the EcoFlow. And you get one standard DC carport, and you also get a UPS backup with a 10 millisecond switchover. So the Anker, you get 10 outlets and ports, 5 AC outlets, 3 USB-C ports, 2 of them 140 watts of input, and 1 with 15 watts. So this is a great feature. You get a lot of ways for fast charging of things like your laptop. 1 USB-A port at 12 watts of power, and 1 standard DC car port. You also get your 10 millisecond UPS backup. Looking at weight and portability, the Bluetti is actually the most lightweight of these three. They're all pretty similar, within a few pounds of each other. But the Bluetti comes in at 25.3 pounds, the EcoFlow comes at 27.6 pounds, and the Anker is the heaviest at 28.4 pounds. Once again, you're going to get 5 years of warranty coverage on all of these power stations. And then looking at retail price, the EcoFlow actually comes in as the cheapest at $899, and the Bluetti is the most expensive at over $1,000. Anker comes right in between these two at $999. So how do these three power stations compare? The EcoFlow Delta 3 Plus is going to give you the largest capacity expansion, can store the most energy, the best port selection because you get almost double what the Bluetti and the Anker give you, and the cheapest retail price. Next, the Bluetti Elite 100 V2. This is the most lightweight, but that said, you have pretty limited outlets and ports when you compare to the other two. And then if we round it out with the Anker C1000, this is going to give you the highest output, the most power, but you get the slowest vehicle charging option. So if you are often traveling or using your RV, the Anker is going to kind of put a kink in that because it's so slow.